Hey everybody, it's Protagonist JWA with Gardening with JWA, and I'm just here to showcase what I've been working on. So, if you've been in my other, I don't know if it was shorts or gaming channel live stream, you've probably heard me talk about working on these raised beds. So I thought I'd kind of showcase them a little bit so you can see all that we're doing. As you can see here, we kind of have a shorter block wall. So essentially what we decided to do was line up a bunch of metal raised beds, and what we're going through right now is what I like to call citrus lane, and it's effectively about 3 per raised bed, but it's just all citrus. Now all these citri, however you pronounce it, they were just little dwarf shooters that you get at like Home Depot or Lowe's. So I think, what was it, like early last year? So it's got a pretty good sized trunk. And they're on dwarf rootstocks, so we just put 3 per. And then what you can also see, and this is what Antagonist Kim did, is she said, okay, well, we have this beautiful citrus and we have a lot of extra bedroom, so one of the things we're probably going to do in later years is maybe put some strawberries or something in here. But for now, we thought it'd be nice to put some type of flower. Obviously this thing doesn't have any flowers going on right now, but they're starting. Some type of flower that we can have that'll also act as like an additional shade for the citrus trunks, because the sun kind of comes from this direction, because it'll go, here's this, and then it'll kind of come this way, so it'll give them good shade. And it'll just help the pollinators. As you can see, the citrus are kind of in various stages. I'm not really sure exactly how I'm gonna go from like if I'm gonna let them fruit or not, because these did start out as little shooters, and I've kind of abused them before I put them into these containers for their final home. There's Morty right there, and Kylo. Jesus, Kylo, you're so hot because you're black. Jesus, but super pretty cool. As you can see, this one right here is like in full bloom. This one's a kumquat. That's why it's in full bloom. These are all 3 of these are actually kumquats, just different types. And every tree on this lane is a citrus except for this little guy. This is a natal plum, or a natal plum, however you say it. Oh, this is a newer shooter, so you can see what I'm talking about, where it's just like those little shooters you get, where they're in there, like, it's like, here's the bottom and then here's the top. I'll back up a little bit. It's like maybe 12 inches, and they're just like little freaking sticks. This one's actually a little bit bigger because I got this one a while, and I left this thing in a shooter and abused the shit out of it. Pardon my language, but this thing was abused. And all these other plants were abused, but they have just done phenomenal over the course of about 1.5 years. So you get really good growth, and that's from being abused. Like, these guys were just in pots, like larger pots, and they were in their final resting place. But this guy you'll see, as you see later this year, this guy will probably be the size of this little limequat. And then once we start going here, now keep in mind, I put a huge preference on fruit trees, as you can kind of see. Because I love fruit, and fruit's like super expensive, and especially to get like high quality. So once you get past Citrus Lane, you kind of come to these other guys. They're just random oddballs, nothing super crazy. If you actually recognize them, feel free to comment below in the chat. Like I said, they've been abused. they have been abused. I don't even know if I'm gonna let this one fruit, to be honest. But they're still coming back pretty nice, which is awesome. And then I got myself a first. I've done grapes before, but this is a little muscadine. Look at that. Is that dirt or heat? Nope, that's heat. I gotta stake these guys up. Look at that. Some of these lanes have taken some beating. I gotta stake these guys up and get them proper. But yeah, some of these guys, they're gonna get watered probably today or tomorrow. So as you can see, this guy's like super thirsty. So yeah, just more fruit trees, or in this case, fruiting bushes. Nothing super crazy. Another muscadine grape, which gets a little bit more shade, so it looks way nicer, which is super nice. Oh, and these are just Birdie's raised beds. I got them from those Epic Gardening people. So I'm really happy with them. They've done really well. And then this is my blueberry bed. It's my only bed devoted 100% to little blueberries. Now, this is a perfect example of where you can kind of see where I abuse these guys. Because, so this is a snow chaser, which these guys just put on tons and tons of fruit, which is insane. But as you can see, it's like super spindly because these beds were like overgrown with grass and all types of weeds. So they weren't getting like any leaf development all along their stem, which was unfortunate. And for some of them, because they weren't getting adequate water, they were getting super abused. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but if it zooms in, but you see how these are just like shriveled up. Those aren't going to actually become blueberries. Those are just going to dry off and fall off. Now, luckily, there are some thinking that this group that are kind of okay, but most of the harvest on this guy is probably just going to fall off and die. And that's just a consequence of being abused. The olive, though, for some reason, I don't know if you can see that, the olive clearly doesn't care about abuse. But now that these guys are in their final home, which this all happened over the course of like the last 10 days. It's pretty crazy. So you get the blueberry. And so as you can see, you're probably thinking to yourself, Jaywa, these are a lot of fruiting plants. What are you doing from like a vegetable standpoint? So that's what these guys are, right? These guys are just using junk soil from like leftover pots or blueberries that were abused so much they effectively are dead. And then what's essentially going to happen here is these 3 raised beds, I'm going to fill with a bunch of just debris and what I call junk soil. And then these 3 beds are going to be where I plant a lot of annuals and such. As far as like, you know, squash, things that vine, I'm not really worried about things that vine because I can put them anywhere in the yard and let them vine up a tree and then get a harvest. I've already tested that out with like snap peas and it worked really well. Yeah, so those are the raised. Oh wait, no, I got one more. Let me go. You can see, look at this. You can kind of see a little bit better here where you see all like the long stalks where I let the weeds get like really, really long and then I just slammed them down and then I came over with the mower and then I'll just chop up. Really nice. And then I got this guy. This is another raised bed I got. This makes the 13th and final. As you can see, they kind of all line the wall. So if I go up, you can kind of see they just line our wall. There's a gap here. I technically could put something right here, but I decided to leave a gap because then I have this gap here behind this pomegranate, which by the way, pomegranates are just doing really, really good. Really happy with them. But yeah, this is what I've essentially been working on for the past forever. You might not believe this. And keep in mind too, I don't have the black tips on them yet, but these raised beds, stepping on stuff. These raised beds, I bought these and had them already built out and in these spots, I think last year, February, May. So this project has been like a year in the making, but I have made garbage for progress. So I took some time off and I spent these last like 2 weeks just really pounding through to get these guys done. So we're likely gonna have some losses, but anything that creates a gap, I can always fill in with something else that's gonna work. Yeah, so these are the raised beds, super cool. I obviously got a lot of other stuff going on as far as like production. I don't know how well that comes through. I'm still working on, you know, the filming process and everything, but yeah, not too bad, I would say. I think this year is going to be kind of a decent, okay harvest, but I think next year is going to be phenomenal, and the year after that's going to be even better. And my mentality is kind of give everything a chance, see what works, what doesn't, you know, have a little fun with it, and then when you find something that doesn't work, just replace it. But ideally, you have more stuff that works than more stuff that doesn't, because you don't want to be replacing like 95% of your garden. And primo example I'll leave you guys with, which, here's a good example too, where you can see I let the weed get really tall. And the reason I left this part kind of gross is because this is an all-in-one almond, super huge tree. These are the bean pods I was telling you about, thick freaking trunk. Super amazing, super awesome. This has been in the ground is almost as long as my apple, which if I go to my apple, which has an insane number of apples, like look at that trunk. That's insane. It's hard to tell, but I have like massive hands, and this trunk is like wider than a baseball easily. Pretty crazy. But this guy, and this is I think this is year 2 in the ground, and it's grown immensely. So I'm gonna let it produce some apples, which as you can see are all kind of grown on the tips. But tangent aside, if you look here, you'll notice that, and it's kind of hard to get a good camera, but a lot of greenery, but no actual almonds. It's super unfortunate. Last year it produced almonds, a whole, I think like 3 or 4, which really sucked. And this year, I haven't found one. It flowered, but I haven't found one almond. And this thing's massive and powerful. So I previously mentioned in a live stream, I'm gonna kind of walk over there real quick. Then my wife, Kim, Antagonist Kim, got me another almond tree, right? And this thing doesn't require a pollinator, and it's truly self-fertile. So if it has a flower, it's gonna turn into a fruit essentially, or an almond, right? Which are just peaches where we eat the kernel essentially. And this thing this thing right here already has the number of fruit that an established tree already has, and it's holding on to it, and it's not impacting its ability to put on like good new growth. And I planted it this year. This new tree, and this is a Urizane almond, has even more, right? Even more, handles the heat like a champ. I still gotta paint the trunk, obviously. So what I'm gonna do, and I think I'm gonna make a video about it, is like, hey, here's how I just plop a tree in, in Arizona. It'll be a little bit of a cheat because I'm not starting with just bare soil because the tree's been established in here, but I'm gonna kill this guy and I'm gonna replace him with this guy. Now, some people might say, well, hold on, it's not really good to kill a tree and then replace another tree of the same kind in the same spot because of the roots decomposing and all that other nonsense. But I find that as long as you're careful about planting, you tend to be okay. Some trees might be more of an exception, but for this one, I'm not worried about it. But yeah, so that's it. We've talked about raised beds. I went on a little bit of a tangent. There's Buster. What are you doing, Buster? Stepping. You better not eat that. She always tries to like eat leaves. I always gotta watch out for him. But yeah, so this is the garden so far. I'll probably do another video just talking about the planting of said tree. My little quad seedling. Oh, and then we also, just a side note, we also take Morty's fur and we just spread it out in the yard, because it's like, why bother throwing away the pet fur when a lot of the birds use it for like bedding? So, and it just decomposes, so we just toss it outside. But yeah, the next video is probably gonna be something related to this guy here, or it might be related to me setting up a grape trellis for the muscadine grapes that I got from Tractor Supply for super cheap, just little shooters. I'm always trying to go cheap because I don't always know what works best, and I don't want to spend a lot of money if I'm not certain. I am certain on a lot of things now, but muscadine grapes is not one of them. So yeah, next video is probably gonna be something about the grapes, or me replacing this almond tree, or just by the various trees we have in the yard. And look at that. I don't know what type of pear tree this is. You can't really see it. I think this is a pineapple pear tree. If someone knows, by the way, please let me know. Problem is, I had 2 pairs next to each other, and one died, and I lost the tags, and they look super similar, so I can't tell. All right, well, enough of my rambling. This is your boy Protagonist JWA with Gardening with JWA, and I appreciate you guys stopping by, just checking out. This is my first long form video I'm doing for the yard. Historically, I've done just a couple of shorts. As I progress and I develop and I start doing more, I'll only get better and better and better. So if it's kind of cringy or it comes out weird, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to improve upon that. This is a little cutie type guy. This This is the first year this guy's actually going to be producing outside of just like 1 or 2. And this guy's freaking loaded. So I'm super stoked. This guy has been in the ground as long as my apple tree, but we had someone else plant it because we didn't have an air hammer at the time to get through our really, really hard soil. And it was insane because they planted it too deep. So I had to dig it up and start from scratch, and just pretty much this is its 3rd year after replanting it and positioning it, and it's loaded with fruit. Whereas before, the last 2 years I got 1. And then just to give you an idea real quick of what I'm talking about, because we have like a new build, so this is the best area to kind of explain. This is like hard. I don't know if you can see that. This right here is softer than what we started with, just because of like rains and accumulation, because this is where I kept like all the piles that I was filling the raised bed with fill dirt. But this is just hard soil. Like if I get a shovel and like I stomp down, you're not going in there. And then you can see I don't have a wheelbarrow, so if you ever stick it on the live stream, I said I like destroyed my back. It's because I was like filling this up with the fill dirt and then carrying it, which is insane. Well, I've gone on long enough. Appreciate you guys. It's your boy Protagonist JWoww with Gardening with JWoww. And hopefully you guys are having a good day. Bye, guys.